Hey everyone, Amar here. In this video we'll be talking about panic attacks and the spiritual journey. I'll be explaining why panic attacks occur for anyone, even if you're not on the spiritual path, also how you can overcome them once and for all. Before we get into the video, however, I would just like to put a little bit of a disclaimer out there and say that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a healthcare professional, I don't work in the medical profession. All this information I'm sharing is just through personal experience and a little bit of knowledge and things that I've learned. So as always with your health, be responsible, okay? Don't do anything you don't feel that you're capable of doing. I just want to put that out there, okay? So without further ado, let's get into the video. So what are panic attacks? Well, if you've experienced a panic attack, you'll know what I'm talking about. However, they are just this state where we can kind of get triggered, and they're sometimes called anxiety attacks, where you feel overwhelmed by a certain rush of kind of feeling. It can make you feel like you're losing control, that something bad is going to happen. Sometimes people feel like they're going to die, they're going to have a heart attack, your heart rate can increase, blood flow increases, you can sweat, and just get very, very kind of anxious and scared. It's not a pleasant state, and I know a lot of people do suffer with this. Some people naturally just have this programming, let's call it, and they suffer with this. Some people on the spiritual path might experience this, and this is what I want to share with you, why this may happen if you are going through it. So in order to do this, I just want to use the board as I usually do. I've drawn out this little dude to express what I want to show. So obviously this is just a figure of a human being. Now, the reason panic attacks occur is because of suppressed and repressed emotion. That's what I believe is the number one cause. I don't know what medical professionals say is, this is what I believe it is. So as you're conditioned into society in the world, certain aspects of ourselves we kind of disown and suppress and repress, right? This could be things like fear, anxiety, anger, aggression, sadness. All these kind of negative feelings that we're told we shouldn't really feel get kind of suppressed into the body, into the nervous system, like everywhere. And as this happens, this is like stuck energy. Emotions are energy, right? Energy in motion. But if you have learned to suppress certain emotions, you've literally trapped high amplitudes of energy into your nervous system and body. Unfortunately, it's these blocked emotions that make someone anxious or aggressive or depressed. If you have a lot of fear which has been suppressed over the years, then you're probably going to be an anxious person. The suppressed emotion still expresses itself, right? If you have a lot of suppressed aggression, you might get triggered easily. Or if you have a lot of suppressed sadness and despair or apathy, you probably feel depressed, okay? And you might even experience panic attacks, because when these feelings, although they're sleeping and they're suppressed, if they get triggered, which is what happens when a negative experience happens, like something that makes you anxious, it can wake these feelings up. When the feelings wake up, they come up. And that's when you experience a panic attack. Your suppressed emotions have been triggered. You can't keep them contained anymore. It requires energy to contain these feelings. A great analogy I have for this is like when you have a ball and you push the ball underneath water. It requires energy and effort to keep the ball underwater, right? But if you let that ball go, what happens? It comes shooting up. In a very similar way, we've been suppressing our emotions for so long that when they get triggered sometimes, if like through something that provokes anxiety, the emotions come rushing up. It overwhelms you because the amount of energy that is stored down there is so much, because you've been doing it for so long, right? The reason it can feel like you're going to die or something bad's going to happen is because your ego cannot hold on. Your ego's literally, it can't hold on due to the ferocity of these emotions and the energy underneath them. So that's why it feels like you're going to die, because if your ego's going to lose control and it can't hang on, it feels like death. Anyone on the spiritual path who does a lot of deep work on themselves and is softening their ego, or even getting past their ego, they may have experiences of dying, that they're going to die. That's what it feels like when your ego is letting go. So I think this in of itself can be an awakening process, which is one of the ways to heal it. So like I said, some people are just conditioned to have panic attacks, and some people might experience them on the spiritual journey, because the deeper you go into yourself, you're going to start to find pockets of suppressed and repressed emotion. And as you find them, you're going to have to integrate them, right? And sometimes the energy that we've been storing and that is stuck in our bodies can come up in this strong way, which can create this kind of panic-like state, which from what I understand is quite common on this path. So now I just want to share with you how to overcome them, right? Just quickly, I just want to put another disclaimer out there. What I'm going to share here is, it's quite, let's call it a hardcore method. It's not for everyone. If you don't feel like you can do it, please don't do it. Please be responsible with your health, okay? So how do you do it? Well, you face it. Quite simply. When it comes up, you let it come up. You don't try to fight it. You don't try to distract yourself. You welcome it. Like most of the stuff in spirituality. A great analogy I have for facing it is like, you might see movies where there's two people and they're playing chicken and they're basically racing two cars against each other. So someone's in the car on that side and you're on this side, and they're just going at each other, and the one who's chicken swerves out the way at the end, right? So that's what you have to do when this panic state occurs. Obviously, it's not ideal. You might be out in public, but if you're in your house or you're in meditation and you can access this panicky type state, that's the time to do it. But you can do it anywhere, is to face it. Don't run away from it. Let it come and watch what happens. It won't overwhelm you. That's the fear, that's the ego. What'll happen is you'll actually have a breakthrough. It can be intense, it can be scary. It actually took me some practice to kind of work through my emotions in this way. I was able to access these pockets of repressed and suppressed emotion through meditation. Very deep meditation, sometimes these feelings come up and it feels like a panic attack. But what I just do is I welcome it, I don't fight it, I literally face off with it. I tell it, do your worst. Once your belief that you are an eternal being, that you are unlimited, that you cannot really be killed is stronger than your fear, that's when you'll overcome it. Because you're putting your faith into action, right? If you really truly believe this stuff, then you can face anything. Even the idea or the feeling of death, which is what panic attacks feel like. So stand in that faith, put your faith in action. If you really truly believe this stuff, put it into action and see what happens. What's happened to me is when these strong feelings have come up and they've overwhelmed me, and I've just sat there and I've faced them, they reach a certain intensity, right? They do, it does get intense, but it peaks. And after about 30 seconds or so, it goes away. Probably not even that. That's all it was. I think it feels like it's going to keep going and going and going and just obliterate us. But it reaches a point and it's as though when you're not scared of it anymore, it loses its power and it goes away, and you broke through. You just integrated another part of yourself. And this is how you integrate the deepest, darkest emotions that you might be going through, that you might experience, or any type of panic attack. This is the simplest way to overcome panic attacks forever. And now I know it's not as simple as this for most people, especially if you are just someone who suffers with panic attacks, because your body is obviously programmed with a lot of anxiety and fear, so it's probably going to re-traumatize you. That's what I say, is that if you're on the spiritual path and you've developed enough consciousness for you to be able to face these uncomfortable feelings and not run away from it, just face off and just stand in courage. It can't touch you, it can't do anything to you. You'll just integrate another part of you. You'll grow, you'll expand. You'll literally feel the expansion, and you'll stop being afraid of these uncomfortable feelings and fears and whatever else you've been carrying with you. They'll just fall away, because when when you truly know from experience they can't do anything to you, then what can stop you? Okay, so that is everything I have to talk about in a video. Like I said, please be responsible. If you feel capable that you can do something like this, then by all means dive right into it. If you can't, then just practice training yourself. If you have these panicky type states, just practice being with it. Practice. That's what I had to do. Okay, and eventually you'll realize that you can face it. When you can face your deepest, darkest fears, you can face anything. Okay, so that is everything I have to talk about in a video. If you do have anything to add in the comment section, you know what to do, hit me up. Otherwise, give me a like, share, subscribe, bell notification, all that good stuff. And until next time, remember to keep living free and being free. Peace.